every single clinic owner we talk to ends up asking us the same question, which is how do I get more patients who are qualified and high intent consistently and sustainably? But you see, the thing about getting more qualified patients is that it's not just about filling up your calendar once, but rather it's about building a consistent flow that you can control, not just depending on agencies, the performance of individual members, or just random campaigns that you're not even sure would work to begin with. Because the most basic step of growth requires really exposing your clinic to the right people, the right audience, and then it's just a matter of providing and proving your value and doing it in a repeatable way that's backed by data that you know you would be able to constantly replicate again and again. And you see, the most commonly trained solution that everyone out there has is that, yes, we need to run ads. But you see, ads are just the most obvious and necessary step of this process of exposure. Because sure, they can put your clinic in front of people who don't yet know you as a clinic who would potentially resonate with the current problem that they want to fix, which could, for example, be aesthetic, aging, wellness. But running ads is just one of the most basic steps to avoid falling behind if you're not already putting content out there, since all of your neighboring clinics are doing it too. And ads don't just expose your clinic, but they also protect your patients being overtaken by competitors while also giving you a chance to win over theirs. But the problem of why ads alone will never be enough is that nowadays everyone can run ads. Agencies, independent media buyers, even non-specialists who can push buttons online can launch them. And if all you have is ads, you're just staying even with competitors rather than pulling ahead. It's not like 2016 where if you just run ads, you're going to be a millionaire. But then let's say even if you do go to an external vendor or even rely on your team members, the only difference between this and more specialized agencies is how much trial and error they've had just trying to replicate success and then implementing that for your clinic, right? But at the end of the day, the most important data is what actually can come from your clinic in conjunction of using this external data that you have and then put it right into here. Because all of this is just the beginning. But what you then need to realize and understand is your own specific bottlenecks that is limiting your growth, even when all of this from here is running, right? And if we really shift the focus into your own clinic's bottlenecks, then your data would be able to really show where all of the real leaks are. So it's about finding and really knowing about what your bottlenecks are, which is, for example, is your offer clear enough? Is it attractive? How are you currently reaching to talk to patients? How fast, how often do you follow up? Are these people coming back? Is it just a one-off thing and then they're done? Maybe your staff members are even spending time on things that doesn't even really move the needle. Because if these issues aren't addressed within your own clinics, then all of this above really will not be able to reach its full potential. Because even with all of this running, the system stays fragile, your results become inconsistent, and then you just end up spending more and more while staying stuck at where you're at. And that's the importance of having a set process where you can really first analyze the bottlenecks. What are you really facing? Then implement solutions based on these bottlenecks that you need to make sure that you are aware of. And then with the solutions, properly measure what are you actually being able to get from this step. And then with the results, just see how else you can optimize the system and then just analyze the bottlenecks again. Because this is a cycle, right? What the problem then becomes is that when your operations just becomes too spread across different tools, different agencies, different staff members, it really only takes one link within this process that it could break. Maybe an agency isn't properly delivering and you're not able to like really see the clear outcomes. There's so much cases of how this process just is not being done to the best extent of where it should be. And that's probably why growth can feel inconsistent to you, because you're constantly patching problems here and there instead of just really preventing them to begin with. And that's why a single connected process built around your real-time data can prevent these bottlenecks to reduce complexity, both saving your time and money. Because if we think about it, what is the end-to-end patient journey that your clinics face? on your data based on what you know is performing out there is the exposure. Let's say at the top, this is most commonly ads, for example, to make sure that you're properly getting seen, you're properly getting heard by. And from there, once people actually know you, then you could just continue to educate them. You still continue to nurture them because you need to keep on building trust again and again and again. Most people stop at exposure and just leave it up to that. But people need to see you 6, 8, 12 times before they even buy or even do something with you to begin with. And this is so linked together that it affects, of course, number one, your booking rate, but also just your show up rate. And from there, your conversion. Because if people don't know anything about you, you really think they're going to trust you with all of their money? And from there on out, what is the proper experience that you're giving them? What is the way that they feel when they are interacting with you to ensure that they can continue to rebook? And then you do the cycle all over again. And when all of this is just handled by one connected system, just like here of understanding your bottlenecks, understanding your data, what you can then get is consistency. The most important factor of reaching long-term revenue and also stability. The importance of why this must be within your clinic is that when you just keep on renting solutions, let's say you're relying on a few key staff members, let's say you're relying on agencies, is that whenever something breaks, you just end up scrambling. You're constantly hiring, you're constantly retraining, you're testing new vendors to see that maybe this would work better for us. But you really don't have a proper control over your growth and your infrastructure. But on the flip side of that, if you are able to actually properly own all of the data, all of the numbers, you can see, you can understand, you can learn what are the main metrics that I should be looking at. Just control the entire patient acquisition system and fixing issues from exposure, education, maybe even just implementing solutions becomes very straightforward, and you're able to just see and adjust quickly. And as this also continues, there are so much less moving parts. There's less dependency, and you just get more stability of just knowing this again and again and again. It really separates clinics who still plateau rather than those who scale past 10K, past 100K a month and up beyond the 6, 7 figures. Because the most inefficient way to scale is spending 5, 6 figures on ads alone, a month or a year. And that's the path to true, predictable, and profitable growth. Because yes, ads are necessary, but they are just the entry point. The real growth comes from really owning a patient acquisition infrastructure, just a system that handles everything from end to end, from exposure, conversion, to retention. And that's how your clinic gets more patients sustainably without just relying on outsiders for every step.